welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sean. I'm back for another video. In this video today, I'm going to be doing a recap / review of HBO's show Insecure. This is season 3, episode 7. Before I jump into all of that, in case you're new to my channel, I'm actually a certified life and dating coach. I make videos on dating, and I've also written 2 books on dating. The first one's called The Dating Game: How to Find Yourself While Looking for Mr. Right. My second book is called Breaking the Man Code: The Key to Unlocking His Heart. And I also have a third book which is called Getting Unstuck: How to Create the Life You've Always Wanted to Live. I'll link all 3 of my books below. But one of the reasons why I wanted to review this show, because there was a lot in this particular episode that I think applies beautifully to 2018 dating, and I wanted to talk about it in this particular episode, so just jump right into it. So the show opens with Issa. Issa is waking up from one of her crazy random dreams about losing her teeth, and her first thought as soon as she wakes up is to check her phone to see if Nathan has contacted her. He has essentially ghosted her since they had that conversation about how do you know that it's real, a conversation that I will have to mention that he actually brought up. Ever since they talked about that, he's been MIA. So next up we have Molly, and Molly's actually on a date with Andrew, aka Asian Bae. Now Asian Bae is actually the friend of Nathan. Nathan's actually staying with Andrew in his home, and I really like the chemistry they had on the date. I like the fact that Molly has a lot of one-liners and she's very sarcastic. She has a really nice sense of humor, and I felt like he was her match with that. But I like the banter that they have. It was a bit of a sexy flirting, and everything was going well, so Molly was down for a second date. So I was all about that, actually her being able to expand and try out different things. One thing about Molly is she's very rigid, and she has because she's so sure of what she wants her life to be, she doesn't allow any room for the unexpected. I think a lot of times, a lot of us do that when it comes to dating. We expect him to be 6 foot with a 6-pack making 6 figures. And so when he's 5'10", we're like, what is this? We're like totally avoiding guys with amazing potential. Now, I'm not saying settle. I would never tell you that. But what I'm saying is allow room for God in your plans. Allow room for the unexpected in your plans. You never know. That 5'10" guy might be the one you marry. Or that guy who's not making 6 figures but is on his way to making 6 figures may treat you better than anybody else. That's the thing with Molly. Molly is so stuck on one vision that she can't allow room for anything else, and that's what keeps messing her up. So next up, we're back with Lawrence, and Lawrence is having a conversation with Chad, and Chad's trying to get him to go out to the club to meet women, because that's all Chad knows is chasing women. And Lawrence is actually like, I'm really not all about that. I feel like something's missing, and I'm thinking about going to church. The first thing Chad does, he laughs that off, but then he thinks about it and he's like, you know what? I'll go with you. So Chad actually agrees to go with Lawrence to church. With no expectation, he's like, I'm sure there are plenty of women there. He went for the expectation of finding women, and Lawrence is going with the expectation of maybe, filling a void. He's been feeling like something has been missing ever since he and Issa have fallen apart, and he tried the other women. He tried, his career. He tried different things, but he can't quite put his finger on what exactly is missing, so he's going to try to see if church is that thing. So next up we have this scene with Issa, and Issa is trying her hand at a little bit of lightweight thirst trapping. She's put a couple buttons down in her shirt, showing a little tiny bit of cleave, and the only response that she gets is from her brother, who is calling her thirsty. And that's not what she was wanting. She wanted to try to see if she could get Nathan to respond, and he still hasn't. She's checked him out on Instagram, sees him with the woman, is like, well, who is this? Kind of find out it was his mother. She's like, man, she looks good for 50. But Issa's still trying to get his attention, and no matter what she's done, she hasn't been able to. One thing I find is interesting is that Issa actually uses a fake Instagram account to essentially social media stalk Nathan, and it's a group Instagram that she has with Kelly and Tiffany and Molly. She had to ask for the password. Have you ever social media stalked a guy that you've been interested in? Had a separate account and everything. Have you slid into your own man's DMs just to see what's really popping? I'm interested to find that out. If you're brave enough to share your story, let me know in the comment section because I found that quite interesting. So Lawrence and Chad find their way over to church and the preacher is doing a lot. I've seen preachers like this where they're trying to be in touch with the young people and they're using all of the slang that they know and they're like trying to be cool, trying to be hip, trying to, you know, bridge that generational gap between like them and the members, and he was doing a lot of that, and I felt like Lawrence wasn't really into that. He was looking for something else, but Chad was feeling it. Chad was all for it. Surprisingly, when they asked if anybody wanted to give their life to Christ, Chad popped up like a jack-in-the-box and ran on down there and tried to get saved. I don't know how serious I can take Chad, but he was really loving it. But you know what, to be honest, Chad needs Jesus more than all of them. So I'm hoping, give him some Jesus. I hope this Jesus sticks to him because he needs it. So anyway, at the end of service, Lawrence is getting ready to leave and he's approached by a very attractive young lady who comes over to him, starts talking to him, strikes up a conversation to him about, you know, has he been to this church before and what do you think of the service, and sharing her experience and all of that. And it could come across as just friendly, but she seems attractive and single and he seems attractive and single. I don't know if that was flirting or not, but I definitely think that she shot her shot. To me, that looked like shooting her shot to me. Church or not, let me know, do you think she shot her shot at Lawrence? Because there's friendly and then there's friendlier. And she was friendly to me. Maybe it's just me. So next up, Molly goes on her second date with Andrew. And it's a really nice restaurant. They're both dressed really nice. Everything seems to be going quite well, just like the first date. But, you know, Molly and him are talking and she's talking about how embarrassed she was about how she behaved at Coachella and how she could barely remember anything. But she does remember him telling her about him kissing a friend, a friend of his girlfriend, and she was laughing at that, you know, kind of making light of it. And so he does the same thing that he did in the first date. He tries to give her back what she's giving because it's supposed to be cute, and he says, you know, well, you know, you were the one who were sleeping with a married man. And Molly's defenses immediately go up. Molly didn't give him a timeline. She didn't say that I just stopped sleeping with this married man. She made it seem it could have been 5 years ago, 5 months ago. She didn't give a timeline. And he didn't know how fresh this was, because why are you out on a date with me if you're not over this guy? So Molly blows up at him. She's like, you know what, I don't think this is gonna work. And he's like, what's going on? Like, basically talk to me, let me know. All she had to do was tell him that's still a sore subject for me. That's something that's really sensitive for me. I'm not fully over that or whatever. She just gets up and leaves him in the restaurant. And so of course he's kind of looking like, well, what happened? Because who wants to get left, you know, in the middle of a date? It's embarrassing. And so Molly does what she always does. As soon as things get tough, she runs away. I think with Molly, the never-ending pursuit of perfection is a form of self-sabotage, because you'll never be perfect, so you'll always be disappointed. It's the same thing with Molly and her job, you know, trying to be the #1 person at her law firm. She's already alienated the women at the law firm who were trying to get to know her, trying to open up to her. She was trying to get in good with Torian, trying to be the Robin to his Batman so she could eventually become Batman herself. Saw her shot and she took it. You know, all she had to do was wait on him to do the group presentation together, and doing what she always do. She's trying to overcompensate and saying, you know what, I could do it. Same thing she did in Coachella, trying to sign up for things that, you know, giving herself more workload to trying to suck up. I could do it. Molly's I could do it attitude is going to have her overwhelmed and frustrated. So she kind of stabs him in the back, and at the end of the episode you see that he kind of gives her the cold shoulder because she did to the women at the law firm what she's doing to him, which is by any means necessary. She feels like she has to be #1. And that's just, it's going to be exhausting, and it has been exhausting for Molly. But speaking of exhausting, Issa decides she's going to exhaust all her resources. She enlists Molly, convinces Molly to go with her to Andrew's house so that she could kind of peep around the corner and see if Nathan's there. They go to some random place to get some pastries, and they knock on his door unexpected. He's looking like, what in the world? Like, who that? Who there? But he's trying to be nice. They got a real corny, stiff smile going on because the last time he was with Molly, she walked off and left him in the middle of a restaurant all alone. And Issa is like, can I use your bathroom? just so that she can get an into his house. She goes in there, starts snooping around, goes so far as to go in his room. She's looking through his drawers. She's about to log in on his computer, thinking for some crazy reason that Issa would be his password name. That's how I knew that she was gone. That she was just gone. I was like, girl, I mean, we've all been a little bit, you know, wanting somebody to call us back, but this was taking it too far. Like, I was just like, girl, how far are we gonna go? She was even thinking about digging through his trash. I'm like, girl, if you don't calm down. So Molly catches her, and Molly's like, girl, what you doing? Girl, let's go. But she gets her out of there, and, you know, but before that, I will say Molly and Andrew have a conversation where he feels like he's met two different versions of Molly. The carefree, wild, open one when she was at Coachella, and this really stiff, buttoned up, you know, even with her attire, I feel like they kind of give you clues with Insecure. Molly literally doesn't even unbutton the top button. She's so buttoned up, literally and figuratively. And if she could just open up just a little bit, the collar and that stiff personality, she could really allow, you know, room for more fun activities and allow more room for things to happen. But she's so busy trying to control everything. The more you try to control life, the more uncontrollable it will be. I don't know, it's like resistance makes stronger. But anyway, so Molly and Issa have a conversation in the car, and Molly's like, girl, what's going on? Because you're doing the most. And Issa says he was the only one that made her feel like she wasn't a screw up. And I really could feel that, because, you know, with Lawrence, you know, she made that mistake in the beginning, and she's been paying for it, and everybody's been making her feel bad about that. When she tried to explain to her friends the idea that she had for a business, they kind of laughed off the business idea. No, how many times has Kelly made fun of Issa, her credit score, her inability to get a job? How many times has Tiffany said shady things about Issa and her ability to find a job? Are you doing Lyft full time? Like, oh girl, that's a thing? Everybody shades Issa. How many times has her brother shaded her? Everyone in her life has made fun of her and her inability to get her life quote unquote together. Just because they've gotten it together quicker doesn't mean it won't happen for her. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it will never. You know what I mean? And so I get that. He was the only one that didn't make her feel like something was wrong with her and that she was all out of whack. But I think that's because his life was more out of whack, and so he saw her as somebody who had her stuff together. Keep in mind, he has no home. He's living with Andrew. I'm not sure how much money he's making as a barber. He's committed he's broken 3 laws since he came on the scene. Fighting in the Uber, breaking and entering, distributing drugs. Like, he don't have his life together. So of course he's gonna look at Issa like, man, he's got a job and a place and a car. Wow. Of course he's gonna see her as somebody who has her stuff together. That's what happens when you're not necessarily equally yoked. Equally yoked isn't always like having the same faith. It's stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? Like fundamental differences in who you are as people. Okay? In my opinion, no response is a response. And a very clear one. To me, this isn't the first time that Nathan has gone ghost on Issa. It's for the longest period of time, but it's not the first time. He's made a history of thinking he can come and go as he pleases. So I'm very pleased that Issa went in and deleted his number, deleted his text, you know, unfollowed him on social media, basically saying, okay, you know what, if you're done with me, I'm done with you. And she kind of moves on. And then we see her at this, like, I don't know, this business workshop, this entrepreneurial workshop that, come to find out, it was something that was recommended to her by Lawrence. So she sees Lawrence. Now this is the part that's very telling. In the episode where Issa finally sees Lawrence and she's at Coachella, they are literally at 2 opposite ends of the store. Issa's way at the front, he's way in the back, and they have this whole conversation across the store. But when they're talking, they're literally like, they were so close. I remember saying out loud to my husband when he was watching it, like, dang, they close. Like, they were literally, you know, they were pretty close to me. Another person couldn't even squeeze in that space. And to me, that was kind of like symbolism to show how much closer they've gotten since Coachella, with talking to each other and becoming more cordial. You know, the church bae tried to contact Lawrence, asking him if he'd be interested in going to Bible study, and he said, you know, we'll see. But then he ended up going out with Issa for a coffee date. So he chose to spend time with Issa rather than seeing, you know, where things would go with her. And that's a nice little, I don't don't know. I've not been for Lawrence and Issa together, only because, you know, the show opens up pretty much with Issa cheating on Lawrence. It never gave us a chance to really see what they were like, why they work, why they click, do they support each other, anything besides that. And seeing them together, like seeing how supportive he was about her dreams and how he's trying to help her. After seeing them together, I'm a little bit more open to the idea of a Lawrence and Issa reunion, although I'm not ready for it yet. I feel like it'd be way too soon. It wasn't that long ago he was having a conversation with his friends, and he was saying that he don't think he can ever see Issa in that way again or ever forgive her, because every time he sees her as a cheater. If he gets with her now, he hasn't healed from it. The way that he sees her hasn't changed that quickly. I think she'll have to rebuild her trust, and that's realistic. It's realistic that they don't just get back together just because I like you and you like me. It's realistic that if somebody makes a mistake, it's gonna take time and effort and energy to work your way back to their trust again. So to me, if it happens gradually and happens slowly, then I'm for it. But if they get together right now, it's just too quick. Anyway, that's pretty much it for my review of Season 3, Episode 7 of Insecure. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to thumbs up if you did. Join the conversation below if you guys have any questions, want to discuss the show a little bit. What do you think is going to happen on the season finale?